who's next.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm back again with another episode of the If Factor Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Robinson. Today we have someone special. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, my name's Jonathan Johnson. I go by JJ most of the time. Currently a video producer for the Carolina Panthers. I spent some time with the Houston Texans as well. Graduated about 2 years ago, so it's been a fun little journey. But videography is my passion, and I'm just blessed to be able to do what I do.
Indeed, man. So with that being said, how are you doing mentally, physically, and emotionally?
I'm good, man. It's been really refreshing to be back home. I think I've been back here since November. Getting to see family pretty often has been nice. I think since I graduated college, I've been up and about, moving, trying to make moves, and it's nice to be back home, be grounded. Especially like where you started. I was only 2 hours away when I started, so it's been good, feeling excited about the next upcoming season, and work doesn't feel like work, so that's a blessing. Not everybody has that, and looking forward to getting a family going in the next couple of years too.
Indeed, that's dope, man. So with that, what is your It Factor mean? Why do you do what you do?
I think for me, it's a passion for storytelling. I want people to feel how I feel when I'm behind the camera. With like the first time I picked up a camera and I was like, I want to do this, it was like an unbelievable energy I felt. On my college, we have the smallest Division I basketball arena in the country, but it was packed that night for like a pep rally for the basketball team. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I just like, I've always wanted people to feel what I feel when I'm on the field for a game, or when I'm at an event, or like there's something sentimental, or at a wedding or something like that. I want you to feel like you were there, and just the passion to just tell stories. I feel like I've always been very observant. I've always cared about people, and it ties in well because it's just being able to tailor to like what's important to that person and what makes the moment special. And I was telling my dad here this year about an hour ago, but I was like, I don't think a lot of people realize it, but we really like live our lives through video. Like we consume video every single day, so it's like a tremendous opportunity to capture moments, like save a moment in history, but also like whether you're swiping on Instagram or YouTube or watching a live stream, watching a sermon, or like whatever, like you're tapped in a video, and we don't really think about it, but it's more than a service. Like it's something that connects us. So to me, it's like a bigger thing when like I see a video and like 100,000 people saw it or more, like whatever. It's like, it's cool that many people get an opportunity to like have a little slice of the Panthers or any other event, and it's been awesome to get feedback from people like, oh, I cried from this video, or like this made me so happy. Thank you so much. And like, just the joy that comes from so many people just when you put your heart into the work, and just a feeling that people really appreciate it. I think it was the first thing I ever did that made me feel like I'm really good, really talented at something. And I remember a couple of years ago, I wrote down in a book, I can't remember what Steve Harvey book it was, but it had like little notes to fill out in there. And it was like asking you about your why. And I was like, it was like before I knew I wanted to do videography, I was like, I want to help people. Um, I want to help people. That was like my goal. And like I ended up doing that. And so it's just been a blessing, man.
That's amazing. I mean, as long as you know you're helping people, man, I feel like you're always doing the right thing. But outside of that, man, your work is inspiring. Like to see stuff like that, like you said, every time I go back, like today, I did a recap of me doing an episode with Ryan Clark like years ago. And so when people are like, hey man, that was dope, man, I remember this or something. I'm like, wow, this many people watched it. It used to be for the views, like, but it's really like, I can't believe it. Like you said, like, and this many people really looked at, oh man, that really meant a lot to you. Or people that Pittsburgh Steelers fans, they're never gonna forget that person. They're like, hey, you were able to talk. I know you. You was able to. So definitely, I commend you for what you're doing, man, because it's making an impact that you gonna see, that you see, but you also cannot see sometimes. You just like, wow, I'm able to do that. So yeah. So how did you even get into videography? Did you study it in school? Like, how did that go about?
Yeah, for me, I was a sophomore in college. I was a business major, marketing. In high school, I knew I was like, I want to do sports marketing. So that was the natural route for me. I was like, cool. But I never picked up a camera. That wasn't even a thought, wasn't even an idea. But my school, USC Upstate, they had student jobs where you just go, you just make your little $8 an hour, and they had roles for graphics, for like the video board, um, obviously being a camera op, replay operator, things like that. And I was like, oh, this is a cool opportunity for me to make a little bit of money. I was like, let me try the camera part. And then they put me on different cameras, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, this is cool. And so that's how I stumbled into the opportunity, fell in love with it, and it was like a love at first sight type of thing. And I just never turned back. I was all in. I was doing college sports at the same time, but I was like, coach, I'm full-time athlete, but I'm full-time on this too, because I know this is what's, the real goal. So from there, I actually switched out of marketing, switched into communications. Thank God it was an easier major, but I was mass media communications, which is a good way to go. If I had to change anything, I'd probably do journalism more than mass media, but switched my major. I wouldn't say I learned more so in the classroom, but for me, it was a lot of self-teaching through YouTube, like going on watching tutorials, that sort of thing, and practicing on my own time. Also, I had some great mentors along the way. Definitely wouldn't be here without them. Shout out to Byron Apt at Furman and Upstate, and Patrick McConaughey for giving me my start. But I remember times where I would go after school or whenever I had a break, say, hey, BA, can I meet up with you? Can we talk for an hour? Can we go through this broadcast? Look at all my shots. Can you tell me what I could have done better? And that was like a huge help for me to like learn framing, learn why we're doing things, and just kind of learn the business. And then those opportunities expanded, started freelancing, and just got the ball rolling. And it's crazy. I don't know. Growing up, I wanted to work in that. I wanted to be an NFL player, like every kid does. So
Right.
it's cool that I had that vision. Like you still end up on the field, but it's just different than you would have planned it, and God always makes a way.
Indeed, man. I feel the same with podcasting, man. Definitely wanted to always be in the league. But the crazy part is I interview people that have been in the league or are currently in. And every time I'll be like, well, that's my way in. All right, cool. That was
Hmm.
good, man. So I would say with that, let's speak on imposter syndrome. Man. I seen a post as I was doing right now in the questions, and a lot of people do suffer with it. I feel like everyone does in their own way. Uh how have you overcame imposter syndrome, and like, what advice would you give to someone else that's dealing with it?
Um, I would say the way I overcame it is I think it's something that everyone has.
Mhm.
So it's realizing that it's okay to have that. You have to work through that to fight that feeling. That was like a big meaning behind that post because I've always felt like that. Growing up, I was always like an underdog type of person. Like in my mind and in reality, like playing football and stuff, I was always like the guy who had five first starting spot, too small, too skinny, not quite fast enough, that type of thing. I only got one D1 offer. So I've always had like a chip on my shoulder to where like at the back of my mind, it's like it helps motivate me to feel like oh, you're not quite you never quite arrived, or like maybe you're not as good as you think. So you still gotta like fight for your spot, still prove yourself. And even now, I think sometimes where that manifests is like I'm 24. I'm the youngest person in the building, youngest producer we have, and probably one of the younger producers in the league. There are a lot of talented people in this league for sure. And sometimes, like I think when it comes to using my voice, voicing my thoughts and my opinions,
Mhm.
I sometimes can struggle because I'm like, I don't. These guys have more experience than me. They might technically know something better than I do, or I tend to defer when it's like, no, my work shows I'm talented. I'm here because I'm capable, and like just voicing your thoughts and everything that got you to this point. I think, um, but for me, it's just with imposter syndrome. I think it's the feeling that I think for me, it originates from like I've made a goal that I wanted to enter the NFL by the time I was 26, and I did it at 22, right after college, which to me was impossible. So to
Yeah,
me, I got here early type of thing. But it's like, that's just favor, and God blessed me in that way. And so like when people, ask me, I'm like, oh, how'd you do this? I'm like, this is how I did it, but it's different for everybody. I don't want to say I got lucky, but I feel lucky. I feel like I got here early,
right.
because there's so many talented people, and like there's people I still look up to, and like people who can edit things that I can't edit, or shoot just crazy creativity like in this field. And it's like there's always someone you can look at and be like, oh man, I wish I was that, or I'm not that. And
Definitely.
I think the key is like whatever field you are is looking at yourself and what do I have, what makes me special, and just holding on to that. And that's the thing that gets you to where you want to go. Because I've always been a believer that like you can't duplicate someone else's success, and the best version of yourself is you being true to yourself. Like if I try to replicate, I made that mistake when I started. I wanted to be like other people and like look up to other people, or like, oh, I want to be the next Justin Law, or like guys like that. And it's like, no, you got to be the first you and find out what makes you different, and just and then you get feedback from people to like, oh, your work affected me this way, and you realize like, okay, I don't have to be that person. Like I can make my own mark, and just over time, it's something I'm still working on. I think that's probably my biggest professional goal this year, to be honest, is just, being more vocal, trying to be more of a leader, voice my thoughts. I tend to like, think about it,
Mhm.
digest it, and then I'll say it later in a smaller group of like 3 to 5 instead of the group of like 10 to 15. It's like just say it in the bigger group type thing. But it just comes with time.
Definitely, definitely, and that leads into my next question. Congrats on your engagement, man. I know it's gonna be an amazing walk for you and your wife, man. Soon to be wife. I would say, what are you looking forward to most in marriage?
And for me, it sounds like so basic, but just her being here. We've been long distance for like the last 6 months, which is tough because that's my best friend in the world. I want her to be here every day. So really just her being here,
Mhm.
having her presence, like just being able to get back to having dates, take a person out. I try not to be the person that takes things for granted, but like you naturally you take things for granted. And you don't realize how special it is to just have someone's presence
Definitely.
around you. So I think just that, and just moving forward to the next steps, getting around to a wedding, things like that. But just having her here, like she makes my life better. She's a great sounding board. She's a great friend, great listener. She also does content, so it's good to also, be tied to another creator who, they'll keep it honest with you, and I can push her in her photography and her videography, and she can push me with ideas. Like, some of my weaknesses are her strengths, so it's like that's a beautiful thing. And I think um, I think something else I'm also looking forward to is we kind of got a sneak peek of it doing our podcast together last fall, but like taking it to another level, we have really high, lofty goals that we've talked about since our first date that we're looking forward to doing, tying her business with, my goals and things like that. But, we got to be together to do it. So really just seeing the fruition of all that talent and chemistry come together.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. I would say I commend you for what you're doing, man. Your work, even though it's yes NFL, that's amazing. But outside of that, Jonathan, I commend you for being who you are. You're a man of your word, man. We talked like a year or so ago, and then we came back, and now we're doing this. And every time I see your work, I'm like, "That's my brother right there," And I'm so happy to see the amazing work that you do because you don't see that all the time, bro. So I commend you for what you're doing. I commend you for being a fiance, man, because that's dope, bro. And outside of that, every great thing that you think gonna come to you, man, it's gonna come to you. Definitely want to give you that before we continue the show, man.
I
Definitely.
appreciate that.
So I say, who is Jonathan outside of all the things you're known for? Man?
And I'm glad you asked. I feel like it's funny how like you transition through life. I feel like in college, all people knew me for was running, and then it transitioned to filming, and now it's just like the filming part. So it's cool to remind people that you are a person. Um,
Yes, definitely.
but I am an introvert. I don't get out too much, to be honest. I would say, my photography, videography is a hobby, is something I do for fun, but doesn't really count. I really enjoy watching movies, going to comedy shows, um, working out. What else? I like to shop.
Okay.
When the money's there, I like to shop. I go out there. So fiance enjoys that, getting to go out to shop together. Playing video games, man. Really, really ecstatic about college football 25. Big Madden head for
So
me.
ready for that. I am ready.
I'm saying I'm checked out. I'm checked out that week. Everybody gonna have to look for me. So video games, shopping if I can,
Mhm.
and then what was the other thing I said? I don't know. I like making content. I would love to get back to doing podcasts and things like that, but I kind of keep it chill, like doing activities and stuff like that. I'm mostly an introvert, but I keep it kind of low key.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, how was it, working for the Houston Texans, and what were some of your memorable moments?
Yeah, I think a lot of memorable moments. That is my favorite team, NFL team. So unique experience. I hate that it's over
Uh,
by my choice, but I'm thankful that I got the opportunity because I would have my goal was always to work for an NFL team. I never would have thought I would have got to work for my favorite NFL team. So just being able to take pride in the content personally as a fan, being able to like use my past experience, like, oh, I remember this happened in 2013. We should do a video about this.
Mhm.
Bring that to the table was awesome. But I remember just my first time. It wasn't even a Texans game. It was an event. It was an event for one of our marketing teams, and it
Mhm.
was a soccer team. I think it was Copa de Lone Star, and it was at a stadium. And like my school is 500 people in a basketball arena. When I was doing Furman football, forgive me if I'm wrong, it might be 10,000 people. Basketball was 4,000 people. So I never been in an arena like that. And it was packed,
Yeah.
65,000 people deep for a soccer game. And I was just like, just high off the energy, man. And going from that to the first preseason game and
Mhm.
just being on the field and like just the little things that like every fan sees on TV or like just seeing like being able to go to the draft, being able to see CJ like walk out to the practice field, his first throws, like not everyone gets that experience, but those things from the first moment to the last moment, it was cool. It was cool just to be a part of that, and meet Andre Johnson. I can't forget that. Met Andre Johnson at training camp, got a photo with him. So that was awesome. That I can always carry that with me. He's my favorite player. He was the reason why I was a Texans fan. So that was cool. Just meeting JJ Watt, meeting the legends, those guys that are like larger than life to you, like Hall of Famers, like getting to do that. Like that's once in a lifetime. Got to do that, got to be in those doors and got to help, and got to do my part as a fan. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. And now leading to now, how is it working, as a video producer, a digital video producer for the Carolina Panthers, man? How is that?
yeah, it's different. It's different, but it's all the same in the sense of like social. So in Houston, I was a social video producer, so I was part of a social team dedicated. You're doing everything for that. You're kind of quick and dirty, just
Mhm.
pumping out as much content as possible. Whereas now with the Panthers, I'm still on the short form team, still making social content. So a lot of the stuff you guys see is
Mhm.
coming from my lens or the other two producers on the short form team. But I have the opportunity to branch out a little bit more and help with interviews and shoot mic'd ups and things like that. Things that I got spurts of in Houston, knew I could do, but I wanted to do more of.
Mm.
So I'm getting the opportunity to grow in those other areas and shoot different things, be behind the scenes for how these interviews are lit, and help out with things like Blueprint, like the docu-series and stuff like that. It may not be the primary hand involved in them, but at such a young age, I kind of want to get like a wealth of knowledge. So that's been awesome. That's been different. Getting shooting different cameras, um, cameras I was experienced with in Houston, but just getting to do more of what I knew was possible, and really blending what my intern experience was with the Texans with
Mhm.
what my year of full time experience was there to now being in a full time role that meets both those needs and being home. So best of both worlds. It's different. Obviously, I think I think we're back, we're on the up, we're on the come up for the Panthers as far as on the field. I know everybody sees the off the field stuff and they're like, "Oh, no way, man! Why would you leave?" But people forget that it was the same situation a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic. I know once the football gets to where it needs to be, all will be well. So I'm having fun, man. Having fun.
Definitely, man. I would say, when it's all said and done, what would you love to be remembered for?
For me, I think not just with my content, but with the people I interact with, that I actually cared. I genuinely cared about what I was doing, with the people I worked with the people, with my family members, with my friends, with my fiance, that he really cared. He went the extra mile. He put his heart into it. I just hope that people could see that I put my heart into things.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't do it lackadaisical or just to get by. I don't ever want to be perceived as a person that just went through the motions. I want people to remember me as someone who's very grateful, very just a ball of energy in a sense, where I'm an introvert, but I try to be the optimistic person, try to be the person to keep everyone even keel, um, keep the vibes up, basically, try to be the vibes guy, but just try to be memorable in the sense that also when people approach me, I was always willing to help, because that was something that helped me get to where I am, is a lot of people helping me. And I
Mhm.
remember having experiences where I didn't get that help and it was frustrating. So being someone who was willing to help, someone who's genuine, someone who really cared, and someone who gave it their all is the things that for me are like the pillars of what I want to be remembered for.
I love that. I love that. And I would say also, when you picked up that camera years ago, did you ever imagine you would be doing what you're doing?
I imagined it. I imagined it, but I was like, this is gonna take 5 years, 10 years. Just like seeing the staircase and not the stair in front of me. But I was like, this is a good little route. I'll probably graduate here. Maybe I have to go work at another mid major, and then
Mhm.
from there I work at a bigger college and then the pro. And it didn't happen like that. So for me, it was shocking. Um, I didn't imagine it happened that fast, but I saw it in my head. It was a goal, it was a vision, it was written down, something I prayed about, worked for. I told people that's what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
and it manifested itself. Have it tattooed on me. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him in the presence of great men. So I really believed I was going to get here eventually. Not to be like cocky or arrogant. If it didn't happen, that's not in God's will. But for me, it was something that I saw in my head, and I'm very like tonal driven. That like when I see it, I
Mhm.
gotta go do it. It's real to me at that moment. That's how I've always been, like, trying to go from high school to college, running, things like that. So yeah, it was definitely real for me. That helped me with a lot of long nights, a lot of times. Like you doubt yourself or you're not where you're supposed to be, but it's just a process. And I'm glad I'm here now. I wouldn't change any step of the journey. I'd go back right back to the Houston Texans and come right back here. I'd do the same internships I did.
Mhm.
I think while I was going through it, especially because I went to mid major, I was like, oh, because like Clemson, South Carolina, just down the road from upstate, an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, and like they're content powerhouses. So we're like, you're thinking about it during college, we're like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, should I go to Clemson? Should I go to South Carolina? But like, I think being in the environment I was in actually made me the person I was in to be genuine, actually care about it. Because if I was if I was in the midst of a bigger production crew, I might not have got the same opportunities. I might not have got the same one-on-one teaching. And even as I'm in the league now, I still look at it that way where like I'm still someone who needs to learn, someone needs to grow. So I seek those opportunities in small conversations and just trying to be in on everything I can be in on. And yeah, I think a lot of people think they need more than what they have. And I try to just use my story that like I come from school with 6,000 people and we had no football team, basketball team, not the greatest team in the world, but your work will separate you. So don't look at like your work and your character. To me, that's another thing. I don't know if we really touched on, but I feel like my work and my character
Mhm.
has helped push me along faster than anything else. I feel like my character, I feel like, I might not have been the most qualified person for an internship. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but I feel like my character was a difference to where they said this guy has ability to grow, he will work. And I feel like that's such an important thing for anyone in their field is like your character.
Mhm.
I think there's a quote that like your skills will take you where your character can't keep you or something like that. But
Mhm.
I felt like I had skills, but I had character just as high, and that has helped kind of accelerate this journey and made it happen faster than I thought.
Definitely. You're right about that, man. I mean, that your character, geniality will take you a long way. I think that a lot of people see that too. After a while, they catch on like, wait a minute, how was you able to do this? Or how did this happen? You like, oh, wait a minute. Character ain't never changed. He's still the same person, even though you was at that smaller school. Yeah, you said you looked at like Clemson, like, wait, I could have transferred, I could have did this, but you like, I'm glad I stayed. Like, so I commend you for that, man. And my last question before the last is there anything you would like to see change in your field, man?
Changed my field. Ooh, I think the creative climate is pretty good right now in the sense where I feel like people are dropping a lot of game online.
Hmm.
I think there are still people who gatekeep, but definitely no gatekeeping. I
Yeah.
think something I realized early on was like we look at it as like a competitive thing, like, oh, I'm competing with so and so on this. I can't give up any game. But realize like everybody, if we're all helping each other get more creative, everyone's getting better. The whole field's getting better. It's pushing everyone. And like everyone can eat is the realization I had that like if I go give tips to someone who's 2 years younger than me, but they have the same goal as me, and one day they're better than me, who really cares? Like them being successful doesn't make you less successful. I think that's something we all got to remember that like, you know, someone else's light does not dim your light. Like we all can shine. And like once you make it, once you're successful with what you do, like you have a responsibility to pay it forward and get the people who are looking up to you, get them to where they are. Get them it's honestly an honor and an opportunity to help people get farther than you got. Because that's
Yes.
what people did to me. So when people talk to me, I'm like, I want to give you the advice that it took me 5 years to get, so you can do it in 3,
Hmm.
or 5 years in, you're much better than I am, because that's possible. I'm not the greatest in the world. I'm good. I'm talented, but like if I can help people get to where I'm at, or get to where they want to go on their journey, or do whatever they want to do, I'm like, that's what actually is like, I'm helping people in the sense now where it's like I'm making stuff for entertainment, but actually helping people is like helping other people realize their dreams, for like you can give people advice other people might hold out on, or like not just, I remember this, like responding to a message or someone responding that I thought was big, like how much that meant to me. And
Hmm.
still people that like they responded to my message, I'd be like, oh snap. Or like certain people where they used to like my post, and I'd be like, man, I made it. They like my post. And
Uh,
now it's just like you realize, like, to other people, you're kind of that person. It's like it's crazy to think, but I think just I want to see more people pay it forward to where like we're lifting up creatives, and we're getting that next generation of creatives. Because like if we just all keep getting better, like I don't know, that's what makes it fun. Like it makes it fun when I can go push my coworker for like, hey, let's go be competitive with who got better shots today. You can push me on that. You can push me on edits. You bring, if I'm pushing your creativity, you're pushing mine. And I think that was a beautiful thing I learned in Houston. It's just that like competition breeds creativity and growth. And you even see that with the football teams. Like competition breeds growth in everybody. And just people just I welcome that. Just welcome that in your field.
I love that. I love that. So, do you have any questions for me?
For you, what is the thing that's kept you going, kept you hungry? How do you feel like you've been able to get all these different people from all these different fields
Mhm.
onto your podcast? And like I feel like I have like 3 questions.
I love that. I love
So
it.
what's kept you going?
Okay.
Who is the hardest person to get?
Mhm.
And who would be your dream person to get?
Ooh, man, it's a couple dream people, but
Like your top.
top. Okay.
Like your top. Like it's pinned tomorrow if you get that video.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I got one for you. But I would say that, what was the first question again?
What keeps you going as far as like, you know,
I would say what keeps me going is, at first it was okay, I'm gonna post this, people gonna like it, and that was it, right? Cool. But I had a talk with I'm a Sigma man. I ended up talking to one of my frat bros that's big in media, and he's like, hey, you know what? Take a step back from looking at it this way and stop looking at the numbers. I'm like, all right, cool. I talked to my mom, my family, my wife about it, and I was just like, let me see how this goes. It's like season one, season two type, right in that time, man. I learned that it was bigger than me, man. I learned that it was little kids, it was young people, people that I went to school with that was looking up and looking for that next episode to come out. And
mm,
I learned that God was guiding me. Like to go get some of these people I have had on the show, or to take it out and say, I'm gonna reach out to them no matter what. I'm gonna keep reaching out, I'm gonna keep tagging. And the biggest thing you have to realize is it's bigger than you, and I love doing it, and I feel like I finally found something that I like doing, and it pays off every time because you get to see people inspired, but also people reach out for help, or they may say, man, I can't believe you did this. Okay, I'm gonna go do this. And like you said, it's always amazing to be able to see your work being able to give someone something of inspiration. Like they look back and say, wow, Jeremy, you did that. Okay, let me see what I can do. And it's not competition. I don't gatekeep. A lot of people ask, like, how did you get in touch with them? I'm like, hey, look, I might not give you the email, but this is the person you can get in touch with. This is how I did it. And I say the biggest thing that always, man, I thank God for it. I used to think it was just me, but I thank God for blessing me with a podcast. I remember back in school, I was engineering major, computer science, and I was struggling in a class. And I prayed. And I was like, God, you get me through this class. I'm gonna do something to give back. And I got through the class. I graduated college, man. And went on to work my job, but I just didn't feel right, man. Like I
mhm,
literally was like, the job is good, everything going good. Why do I feel like this? And I remember me and my boy ended up having a conversation. He was in mass media, and we were talking. And he was just like, "Hey, you should start a show, bro. And I'm like, oh no, I ain't starting on TV show. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. And he's like, no, just try it, man. When I tried it, Jonathan, I will never tell you no story, man. It's something that's natural. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can stop. The day can be the last episode for this week, right? Cool, we done. Next week, somebody gonna be hitting me up, man. That's God, bro. I got to the point where I realized at first I thought it was me. But I was like, why it wasn't me, man? So that's the biggest thing I would say. And one of my hardest people as of late to get on the show was Coach Sydney Carter. It meant a lot to me to have her on here just for what she stands for and her being unapologetic her. But man, it took me 3 years,
Mm.
3.5 years to get her on the show. And it started off, and you get the first story, man. That I'm gonna put in my second book, which I got the Art of Networking. And I tell how I do these things of reaching out. But the craziest thing about all this was people are people. We have to always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no hard way to get in touch with people. You got to reach out to everybody. I'm talking about I'll reach out to your mama, auntie, cousin to figure this out. But I literally got in touch with her about 3 years ago. Me and my business admin, we got in touch with her and her team, and they were charging me. And at the time, I was like, okay, I can pay this amount. Long story short, she got busy. I was like, okay, I'll just reach back out. You thinking I'm gonna reach back out next month or something? But I always a poster, always these things. And then earlier last year, I came up with this thing where I do a reach out every Friday,
Mm.
and her team ended up seeing it. And
Mm.
her agent was like, "Hey, let me see what I can do." Da, da, da. And no, she was just like, you know what? Then the next week, she hit me up like, you know what? We got to wait till basketball season over, but definitely she's coming on the show. And then it ended up happening. The show was amazing. I love to go back and watch it. Like you said earlier, I love that we got these videos. I can forever go back, take the family back. But you know what mattered the most? The journey, man.
Yeah.
The journey mattered. Like I look back at the journey, like I really did that. Like me and my wife, like, you remember we was talking about this, or my business admin, you remember we was talking about this? And she said, you encouraged me. And I was like, that's what it's really about. So people can see, they see the end goal. Like they see when you
Yeah.
post it, like, oh, I'm proud of you. And I'm not, I used to be mad at it, like, why they didn't know this happened. But like I really had to think about it, like, nah, it's the journey that I cared about, and one of my biggest people, man, that I would love to have on this show, bro, and I'm really working on it, is Cam Newton, man. Cam
Yeah.
Newton means a lot to
Fire.
me, bro. Like, he up here definitely means a lot to me, man. I would say hometown. I'm from South Georgia. He from Atlanta, hometown hero. But his story is something that's not. When people interview him, they don't interview him the way I'm gonna interview him.
Mm.
That's what I would say, man. Like they ask him the normal questions. I'm gonna keep it real, like and tell the whole story because I think he's someone that is like a hero, bro. Like for real, like
Yeah.
and I'm proud of what he's doing now. And the father that he is, and that's the stories that should be told. And he was a hell of a football player, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And at first, I'll never forget. I always was like, yeah, I want to interview Cam because this, and now watching him and seeing all the amazing things he's doing for other people, I'm like, yeah, definitely can't wait to do that episode, man. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna mean a lot. Definitely gonna mean a lot.
Well, man, I might have a connect for you.
Hey man, look, look, look. Hey man, go ahead, tell them to pull up. I've been working. I've been working. I
All
gotta
right.
make you one of these.
I'm gonna hook you up.
Gotta make you one of these, man.
I appreciate that.
Yes, indeed, bro. But you definitely got family in me, man. Friend in me, bro. You ever need any advice? I've been married for a year and a half, and my wife for 7 years, dating and going together. And I would say that long distance thing is real. I went to Clark Atlanta University. That's where we met. But how about I met her, and we was together for a couple months, and then I had to move away to go to engineering school in
Yeah.
Boston, and it was hard.
Yeah, that's
Hard, man.
basically us after 6 months. The
Yeah,
last 6 months, after the first 6 months, been distance. And I'm like,
right.
oh, it's
But it's
tough.
gonna pay. I'll tell you this. It's gonna pay off, man. It's gonna pay off, bro. You're a good brother. It's gonna pay off. But yeah, man. You ever need anything? Reach out to me, man. Definitely.
I appreciate
Oh,
it.
it's freezing up. They don't like us no more. It's freezing up now. Let's see. Take that out. But nah, man. Yeah, help me out, man. Help me get Cam on here. You help me get Cam on. I'm gonna cry in the car. Yeah.
Bro, I got you. This is not an episode, right?
Hold on. We about to stop everything, and that's it. Thank you for coming on, brother.